So now let's talk about hiring and workforce. Okay. Just as we had discussed, employment has taken a drastic cut, 16 people in a kitchen to 4. I mean, that's, really cutting down the number of employees that you have, which is exactly what you want to do. Of course, that requires tactful and discriminate and responsible decision-making to ensure that you keep the right employees and that you, for lack of a better word, divest of the employees that aren't going to be able to make the leap. And so when we think about hiring and workforce management, first thing we need to do is you have to think about the people and the critical roles that you absolutely must continue to have to be able to work, and including working remotely. Okay. So we've seen that a lot of businesses transition to this remote cloud-based work environment. And we want to make sure that we have the efficient working capabilities to be remote. And that includes developing new technologies and workflows to help people maintain productivity. Now, I've run truck stops and diners and convenience stores, all different types of businesses. And what I've noticed is that generally my workforce, they have a very specific type of job description. They're used to doing that job description. And so in this environment, what we need to be able to do and be comfortable doing is asking our employees to rethink the way they do what they do and how can it be adapted to the reality, right? And so they're in a restaurant, for example, okay? A person that comes in and makes all the pies, for example, in a day, okay? Well, they come in and make all those pies, right? Well, maybe they don't have to make as many, or the variety can change, or where they make the pies can change. And so we're shifting the demands for the workflows to where people can actually do the work. And also we need to be able to provide coaching to our employees on how to lead a remote team and to develop these new ways of working. Again, if you're used to interacting with, your job is to interact directly with customers, it's going to be a real shock to try to continue business and maintain that level of interaction with your customers. And so we just have to consider adapting our work. But we need to establish policies for remote working in the long term, right? A lot of organizations have planned to encourage people to work from home for the foreseeable future, and that's going to stay. So these larger companies that have said, okay, well, we're going to allow our workers to be remote. A lot of these companies are going to maintain that routine because it makes good sense. Okay. We're at the point where we can actually do and conduct more remote activities and remote business operations because we have the internet bandwidth to do it now. We have the networking capabilities. So when you're thinking about hiring and workforce management, it's always good to go back to basics. First thing is retention focus. Okay, so focus on value added, focus on non-cash compensation like flexible schedules. I mean, people are still going to want to have families. They're going to still want to go to school, get an education. They're still going to want to consider part and full-time opportunities to supplement their income, to continue paying their bills. And so people really, what they need right now is flexibility. And so the more you can flex and you can adapt your business to their routines, the better off you're going to be in hiring and retention. Again, you can focus on value added and you can look at non-cash compensation, because if you're having a tough time right now with cash flow, then you got to be creative about how you're going to compensate your employees. You can use trade, you can use in-kind services, barter, a bunch of other ways of compensating the individuals that contribute to your business model. Of course, if you're working with 1099 contractors, then the agreement for payment is completely up to you and the contractors. And so you can pay with in-kind services, for example, or trade.
Hey, Tony, there's a comment from Jeffrey that's just related to it. Yeah. He just said that one of the issues about bringing back employees was because of the somewhat inflated compensation they were receiving with unemployment and all. He said he had a number of employees that wouldn't return to work because they just wanted to stay on unemployment.
Sure, and that will work for everybody that's been employed with the company for 6 months and wants to stay on unemployment. Yeah. But for all those other people, I mean, they're going to have to go back and get jobs. And so for those individuals that want to stay on unemployment, I mean, there's really nothing you can do. The way that the deal was structured for the loans is it doesn't give the employer a lot of leverage. I mean, if the person decide, you could do something to encourage the person to quit, but in that circumstance, really what needed to have happened, and of course this is hindsight and it's 2020, but
May I pipe in with something?
Yes.
It's my understanding that as I received a PPP loan.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that, retention is a big part of that. They still keep changing things. Yes. But those people that refuse to come back, they could be in trouble with the Texas Workforce Commission because of not coming back.
Definitely.
We have to report
that's been an issue. It's just, I think it's been hard. There's so much to track on every level of this. So yes, technically they aren't allowed to turn down work in order to stay on unemployment. Problem is, I'm not sure who is tracking all of that and enforcing it, but you're right. That's not actually an option for them.
Yeah, I think ultimately they'll have to, file the unemployment paperwork and we'll have to say the cause for, leaving or whatever for not working. And that will not fly with the people that.
I know here in Missouri, the employer can file a complaint, objection to that. But again, it's everybody's got a lot of paperwork going on right now. And so I think some things are genuinely falling through the cracks.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make on the, on the tail end of something that probably wasn't thought about through thoroughly. But yeah, I mean, you're definitely right that if an employee is being compensated through remuneration that was approved by Congress, and then the stipulation is that they have to continue working after that money dries up. But again, the compensation that they're getting should be the same as what they were making before. So yeah, they have to come back to work or else they're going to, I guess they could get, I don't know how they're going to penalize those. That's out of the scope and purview of what I know about those loans. But I mean, they could get in trouble, I'm sure, by the Department of Labor, I suppose, and the Department of Unemployment, I guess. And so, yeah. But I think ultimately you can appeal their claim for unemployment as their primary, and the unemployment office is going to see that as an obvious transgression against the spirit and the intent of business loans.
Yes.
I'm going to continue. And so retention focus, of course, especially with younger workers, flexibility and a sense of purpose is more valuable than upward mobility in the workplace. Okay. We see this with Generation Y and Z, that they want an environment that is comfortable, amenable, that they feel like they can actualize like their goals. And so that's non-monetary compensation. Creating an environment like that is beneficial for these people for a sense of normalcy. Of course, this requires you to understand that, money is not always the primary motivator. Actually, for a lot of people, money is not much of a motivator whatsoever. And so looking at what you're providing for people as far as a career opportunity or a place to belong or a stepping stone in their career to move them up the ladder of their career. All these are valuable reasons why a person should want to continue to maintain positive relationship with their employer.